Hi guys, Maria here from Green Planet Cosmetics. Great to have you back. Today I want to talk about moving abroad and I want to share my little step-by-step guide. So again, you heard me say that before in previous videos. It really depends where you are moving to and whether you move there just for, pleasure or if you actually want to start a business there. So these are two different aspects, but the main thing, just the base, you need to really cover is pretty straightforward, and that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. So let's get right to it. Number one, you have to do your research. So that's very important, and you should really do it before you leave, or when you actually just start thinking about it. Do your homework, look it up online. Is it possible? And again, it really depends on the country. It really depends what you want to do there, but it's very easy these days to just look up, the legal situation, what's going on, like, hey, can I go there with my passport? Like, if you are within the EU and you want to go to a EU country, that's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. You don't have to look at a certain amount of time. Let's say like the typical visitor visa frame is 3 months, so you don't have that. You can stay, you can figure it out. If you do come from a country abroad, obviously, different visa regulations will kick in for you. But very important, really make sure to just get your research in online, make sure it's up to date, that's very important. Also ask locals if you can, and also other expats. Why? Because most locals never have to go through the process you have to go if you are not a passport holder or a permanent residency holder. So as a local, you don't have any issues opening a bank account. You don't have any issues with you don't need a visa to stay in your own country. But as an expat, you do. So it always makes sense to, talk to locals just to get an overall idea what it's like in the country, what it's like in the region, whatever you want to know, ask them. But it's also very important that you ask other expats from that area, because they had to go through the same process you have to go to. Which brings me to number 2. Make sure that you get your motivation straight before you leave. So really think about why you want to move and what do you expect in that new country. So let me give you an example on that. That's a pretty recent one. So that was when I lived in Mallorca. And again, that country, it attracts a lot of Germans. Also, all Europeans really, but I have met a lot of Germans there. And it's very interesting to see that sometimes people come over and they have an idea and they haven't done any research, nothing. So this example will show it pretty clearly. I was talking to a woman and she decided that she wanted to have a tiny home. So she wanted to go and buy land and just set up a tiny home and then rent it out. That was the idea. I was like, okay. And I'm like, well, but do you know that in Mallorca that is illegal? You're not allowed to do that. So Mallorca, and in the rest of Spain it's different. Every region has their own little set of rules for that, but in Mallorca that's not allowed. And then also, I just asked okay, but you want to buy a property, have you checked XYZ regulation? And she's like, no, what do you mean I can't have? Why can I not have an off-grid tiny home? I'm like, well, I don't know, but that's just what it is in Mallorca right now. So she actually came over, didn't know anything about that, had this dream, which is a nice dream, by the way. I would have loved to do that too. But, I just, again, that comes from step number 1 and 2. You do your research, you ask locals, and you save yourself a lot of time and drama later on. So I hope that really makes it clear, just because you have an idea, just because you hear other people talk about that, maybe some other person maybe had the residency or the passport and they, do it illegally anyway. I don't know. You really have to figure it out and do your research beforehand. Otherwise, it can really lead to a lot of drama, unnecessary drama. So that brings me to number 3. Let's say, you've done the research, you've got your motives straight, and you figured out, hey, the country actually supports my dreams. How amazing. Let's go. So you then have to apply for a, like in Mallorca, it's a NIN number. In London, it's a NIN number. So it's like a number for foreigners. That's your registration number, and you will keep that forever. So that, will be your number forever. And you need that. You need that for every little step along the way. Let's say Mallorca, again, because it's just been very, very recently. So you can't even buy a car. You cannot buy or rent a flat without this number. You can't set up a telephone contract without this number. So this would be step number one. And maybe even make sure to fly over there, register that, you for that registration, by the way, you will need an address. So make sure that you maybe have a friend or so who can say, yes, she lives with me. And then once you are settled in, when you have that number, you can then start applying for jobs, etc. And then that will change and everything will be easier. But just to give you the heads up, you will need that proof of address, for this number. And then this number enables you to just continue your journey. So what I did, I was over there visiting a friend and I told her, like, you know what, I'm gonna register for this. And then I just see, I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Like a year and a half or so, I spent every other month in Mallorca just to really see and get a feel for it, because I wanted to register my company there and I really wanted to be sure beforehand. So that is why I spent a lot of time and invested a lot of time in getting to know people, learning the language, really figuring out, do I want to stay? Do I really want to come? And I love it. I mean, it's a beautiful island, you guys. It's one of these paradise islands, really. I love it. But then in the end, I also had to get my motivation straight, and it's beautiful to live there, but then bringing my online shop to Mallorca didn't really make sense because just shipping from and to Mallorca is such a pain in the ass. So, as much as I love it there and as much as I wanted it, and I can still live there. It's just for me, I really also had to get my motivation straight. And one of my boxes was that I am able to open up my business very close to where I am. So, I don't want to commute to different cities. I want to save that time for myself and then really use that time wisely for other stuff. But I wanted to make sure that my company is very close to where I am and, that I can do it from home if possible. And again, in the end, it didn't work out for me, at least business-wise. Right now, I'm on the mainland in Spain, figuring out what's going on here. I will keep you posted on that as well. But yeah, so just to give you an idea, a real life example of what it can be like, and to really make sure to just check it out beforehand. Oh yeah, and to get back to the NIE number, to the registration process. So they do say it takes 2 weeks. In Spain, everything takes 2 weeks, but in reality, we're talking more like 2 or 3 months. So just that okay? Make sure you have enough time, spare time, like a time buffer, so to speak. Go there, go to the place you want to move to. Maybe you can even have friends already, set it all up, ask them if they can help you with that. And then you set that in motion. And then you go home, you organize all the rest. And then in the meantime, they can process it. And as soon as you arrive on the island or wherever you want to go, you can then get started. And I mean, really get started as in, finding your place, buying a car and so on. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It might take a few months to get the documents. Number 5, let's say you have your registration number. Everything's fine, you're ready to go. So now you will have to find a place to stay and live. You will have to maybe go, get a car because, not every, I know especially outside of Europe, not every city is very well connected with the public transport. So what happens next? You will need to open a bank account. This means you will need your registration number. You cannot open this bank account without this number. And so, once you have that, the bank account can be tricky from my experience. That's usually one of the hardest. My tip for you, because I will probably send you away, if you do have a job and you bring let's say a letter from your future boss, who can then, prove that you are going to start a job there, then it will be easier. If you already have a job and you can prove that, it will be easier. So it's just, bank accounts, opening them as a foreigner can be a little bit tricky, and I got sent away so many times, but I just kept going back until I walked out with my bank account. Also, make sure, and now that also depends on the countries, if you are there not full-time, but still, sometimes in a different country, or let's say you spend half your time in Germany, half your time in, let's say, Spain, make sure that you, keep a lookout for the double taxation as well. Which brings me to number 6, the legal situation. You have to really clarify beforehand, and I recommend to invest a bit of money and really get a professional, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever you need to really set it up straight, to get all the information you need, so you don't wake up and have like, you know, a nasty surprise. So definitely invest into legal advice. Make sure you get all that information in, you know, as I just said, with the double taxation, sometimes that comes around and suddenly you're like, what? But you know, yeah, don't create unnecessary drama again. Yeah, no, unnecessary. We don't want that, you know, get it done, get it straight, and if possible with a professional, at least then you're on the safe side. Okay, number 6 is insurance. And especially for the Germans, insurance is very important. So, you know, and you see me laughing. I used to be like that as well. Like, first thing I ask, like, who wants the insurance? It's a bit funny because I've spent so many years in South Africa as well, in the US. We traveled through Mexico as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. Hey, that really depends on how you grow up and your point of view. But personally, I recommend you have one, and even if it's just a very basic health insurance one. I know a lot of people who've gone without them for their entire lives and they are just fine. You know, it's just, I don't know, that's something you have to decide for yourself. So in Germany, you know, it's mandatory, you need to have one. In other countries, it might not be that way. So you can there are different options. And especially outside of Germany, like many countries are very, very flexible. They are actually happy if you take care of that yourself. So what they do, and I can say that from London and from Spain at least, and from Portugal, they have like government funded insurances, health insurance. So let's say you have a job and you work, that means you're automatically, you know, in that pool, and then the government takes care of that. And I'm not sure if it's free. In London, I paid like, it was such a minimum, like 20-30 bucks a month, and that was it. So pretty straightforward, you know, and then you get to decide, hey, well, you know what, because again, it's very basic, but nothing wrong with that really. You know, if you are healthy, if you invest rather in your health, you can do that and then have a, you know, like a basic insurance, or you can then also get a private one for another like 50 bucks. You have a premium private insurance and stuff like that. So you can really do what you feel you need to do in your, you know, position. And you also have the option to take expats insurances, and I have made very good experiences with that because it's a very fair price for a great service, you guys. So I'm very, very happy with that. Yeah, I have an expat insurance. I've been having this one for many years now. I'm very happy with it. But again, you have the choice, and I must add though, if you are planning on staying longer and if you do want to apply, let's say, for the permanent residency or for some sort of green card, you will have to provide an insurance, a health insurance. That's usually part of the deal. Or also, I know that from South Africa, even there, if you come there to work, if you get your work visa, you know, they ask you for an insurance. They also ask you for bank statements. They ask you for a health checkup and stuff like that. So just make sure, you know, again, you get your motive straight, you know what you are in for, and then you literally just tick the boxes. So that's a pretty basic version I can give you. And again, yes, you know, the details depend on the country, but it's pretty much the same everywhere. Like, this is just a rough outline of what you can expect and what you should definitely think about before you go. And other than that, you know, stay flexible. That helps a lot for sure. And just, don't give up. You know, people will come, and especially if it's a legal, you know, bureaucracy stuff that's so annoying sometimes, you know, try not to be too angry. Don't be too upset. Yes, it's annoying, you know, you're allowed to be annoyed, but then always pick yourself back up and just keep going back until you have what you want. And then I promise you, it's worth it. All right. So I hope that helps. I will see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Ciao.